We'll just wait a minute longer. I see 6:30, but we'll wait just a moment. I think we're waiting for one more member.
Mayor, we are live on YouTube, so we're ready when you are.
Hello, Senator Wilson.
Good evening to all of you.
Great to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Okay, we're just waiting for Councilmember Asefa Dawson. She was on earlier during a committee meeting, not a committee, but a presentation for the OMF, the Sound Transit OMF facility. So let's just maybe wait a minute longer. Senator, how was your day today down in Olympia, or virtually?
It was busy, but you know, it's kind of zoom is how it goes every 15 minutes, and then we've got committee hearings, all the stuff coming from the House. So I did get your email today. I just wasn't able to give you a call. So yeah, and I emailed back. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And we're working on it. So
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm
sorry.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, I was talking to myself. It happens, you know.
It'll be in a second.
Senator, I'll give the group I shared your comments with Council President Honda, and then I'll update the council today about that. And thank you very much for your efforts on that.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. And then also I'm going to be giving Senator Moncadingra, my former colleague at the prosecutor's office, a phone call. Sounds like she's working on something.
She's really leading the kind of the work in the Senate as far as how we can address it. So she would be a great one to, Yep. That would be a great thing to do. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Okay. Well, we've got 6:32. I think we do need to get started. Wonder where our council member went. We have a quorum. Why don't we go ahead and get started? Except for we're going to be doing women in color, women in public office. Can we get Jerry Lynn to see if we can?
Yeah, Councilmember Asefa Dawson is trying to log in. She's having some complications. It'll be just moments.
Thank you.
I think we need to wait for Councilmember Asefa Dawson.
Sure. We also, I don't see Representative Jamila Taylor on either. She had RSVP'd she would be attending. And School Board Director Phillips had RSVP'd that she would be able to attend. Well, we'll go with what we have.
We've got our senator here. Isn't that fun?
If they don't jump on, I'll try to represent us all well.
That's right. Okay. That's right.
And Mayor, Council President, as soon as I see them come on as an attendee, I'll promote them if they do show up.
Okay, thank you. And we have Water Commissioner Laura Belvin is on. I see her here.
Commissioner, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thomas, do you know what that? Thomas, do you know what the?
Go ahead and proceed without. Go ahead and proceed. Thank you.
Here she is. Councilmember Asefa Dawson, there you are.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Now we can start. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Welcome everybody. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Welcome everybody to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Federal Way City Council for March 16th of 2021. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, well, that had to be the best ever. We're getting good at this, you guys. Senator, one of the funny things is when we've been doing this, it almost comes across like we're like kind of a row your boat. We all kind of come in at different times. So it's entertaining, but anyway, thank you for joining us, everyone. I do want to start, before we start the meeting, our colleague, Councilmember Moore, had something, a family item come up, and he is unavailable, and therefore his absence tonight is excused for purposes of the record. With that, I will turn it over to our council president for Women in Public Office Day.
Thank you. A few years ago, Councilmember Lydia Cephas and myself attended the National Foundation for Women Legislators annual conference. And at that time, the NFWL is what we call that group, talked to us about doing proclamations for celebrating Women in Public Office Day. As we are all aware, women make up a great percentage of people in this country, but yet we are not as represented in public office as our male public office people are. So we have been doing this proclamation now for a couple of years. Last year, I don't believe we did it because COVID had just hit, and I was really hoping that COVID would pass by and we would be able to meet in person and have a great celebration of celebrating women in public office, so that it didn't happen. Here a year later, we're not going to let it pass by again. So we will do the proclamation. All of the council members, the women council members, will participate in reading the proclamation. And after the proclamation is over, I've asked Councilmember Kochmar to speak about the history of women in public office in Federal Way, because she's been one of our longest serving women in Federal Way and has quite a bit of knowledge about that. So we will start with the proclamation. And is everybody ready? All right. Celebrating Women in Public Office Day. Whereas the month of March is Women's History Month and celebrates the significant contributions women of all races, ethnicities, and backgrounds have made to the world.
Whereas women play a critical role in the vitality and diversity of our communities and are essential to ensuring Federal Way is well represented.
Whereas while the 20th century was a pivotal time of growth for women entering politics, women remain underrepresented in male-dominated fields, and thus providing opportunities to support women in public office is imperative.
Whereas recognizing women in public office will bring awareness to the fundamental necessity of their work and will inspire other young people to serve their communities.
Now therefore, we, the undersigned mayor and city council of the city of Federal Way, do hereby proclaim March 16th to be celebrating Women in Public Office Day, and we call upon the people of Federal Way to unite as we support the success of women in public office and observe March 16th with appropriate activities, events, and programs. Signed this 16th day of March 2021. Before Councilmember Kochmar begins, I do want to let people know that I was able to invite our school board directors, Director Jones, Phillips, and Davis, to attend, but I did hear they had a meeting tonight and probably wouldn't be able to attend. And Representative Taylor is here, and Senator Wilson, and Water Commissioner Laura Belvin. And after Councilmember Kochmar speaks, if those elected women would like to say a few words, I would be very happy to hear from you. So, Councilmember Kochmar?
Well, thank you very much, Council President. I'm going to start with the women, former women and current women who serve for the City Council, and I'm going to go through the school board and the commissioners and our state legislators, but I want you to listen to hear people who have transferred from one jurisdiction to another. So I'm including all names that I could remember. So if I forget anybody, be sure to let me know. So for our city council, our very first mayor was a female, Debbie Ertel. Then other mayors that served the city of Fedway were Mary Gates, Jeannie Burbage was mayor, and Linda Kochmar was mayor. These were at different times under the city manager form of government. We then had Hope Elder, Kelly Maloney, Susan Honda, Deanie Duclos, Diana Noble Gulliford, Lydia Sevadasan, and Leander Croft. We've had quite a number of women on our city council. We've been very, very fortunate. In the state legislators, we've had Representative Marianne Mitchell, who tragically passed away. We've had Senator Tracy Ide and currently Senator Claire Wilson. Representatives were Linda Kochmar, Representative Terry Hickel, Representative Christine Reeves, and currently Representative Jamila Taylor. For Lake Haven, we've had 2 females who were on the board of commissioners for Lake Haven. One was Commissioner Bev Twiddle, who also passed away a few years ago. And then current is Laura Belvin. And you know what? For fire, 0. No females for fire. None. Does that present a challenge for anyone? Okay. District Court judges. If I've forgotten somebody, yes, Mayor, did you?
Representative Katrina Acey.
Oh, you're right. I did. Katrina.
That's right. I know.
Thank you very much. From Milton. Very good. Thank you very much.
You're right.
Okay. And then for district court judges, I knew I would forget somebody. Thank you, Mayor. Then we've had a judge for district court judges. We've had Judge Judith Eiler, and currently we have serving Judge Elizabeth Stephenson. Municipal court judge, we currently have Rebecca Robertson. For our school board, I know I'm not as familiar with the school board, but previously we've had Gail Pearson, and then Claire Wilson was on the school board. So our current school board members, Dr. Jennifer Jones, Lakeisha Phillips, and Trudy Davis. And then, of course, our Federal Public School Superintendent is Dr. Tammy Campbell. Now, you know, in all of this, a lot of women are involved in volunteer work, and I didn't want to leave them out. One of which is the CEO of our chamber, Becca Martin. And then we've had other women who have been involved very, very pivotal times in our history. The Multi-Service Center, which was started by a group of women who sat around a table in the early 70s and created a food bank. And then we had a group of women who sat around a table with Peggy Laporte and created Fusion. And look at where Fusion is today. We've had women involved with communities and schools. We've had women involved with the Senior Center east of the freeway. And we've had many, many volunteers in our community, such as Shelley Pauls and Cheryl Colhurst. And Cheryl's got the March for Diapers going right now. And then we've had women involved with our clubs. We've had Kiwanis, Seraptimus, Rotary, and then we've had other political clubs. Where would we be without our women? And so I want to thank all of the women who have stepped forward, past and previous, to serve their community and have done a bang up, really good job. Thank you, ladies. Take it away, Council President.
Would Senator Wilson like to speak, and then follow Representative Taylor and then Commissioner Belvin?
Well, I just want to say thank you so much. And Councilwoman Kochmar, former Representative Kochmar, thank you so much for the history lesson. Because, you know, we soon forget we stand on shoulders of giants who come before us, and every step we make is another step further. I'll say excited that in the Democratic caucus in the Senate this year, we're at 50% women, and we're trying to reach that 51%, I think, at every single level of government. So I just thank you for the invitation tonight. Thank you for the proclamation, and thank you on behalf of women everywhere who really know what needs to be done, and they just do it. So thank you so much, and I'm very proud to represent the 30th Legislative District in the Senate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll just jump in right there. You know, it's amazing to collaborate. Our 2/3 of our delegation are women in the legislature, and, you know, with Representative myself, Representative Taylor, and Senator Wilson, I'm the Clint. You know, there's a lot that can happen with women in leadership. And the fact that it took us less than 3 or 4 minutes to do the history of women in politics and women in leadership and elected positions in the 30th District and Federal Way is a shame. So we're going to make sure that we open the doors for more women to go into leadership, because it is inclusive, and it is a way to ensure that a lot of values and a lot of systems are undone in terms of supporting the whole of our community. Women's voices are necessary, and I appreciate being brought to the table to serve our community in this way. And thank you so much for the acknowledgement tonight. And I look forward to continue leading our community into the 21st century with the woman's perspective.
Thank you. Commissioner Belvin.
It's been an honor and privilege to be serving on the Lake Haven board, and it wasn't for council members, Coach Mar and Honda encouraging me, I wouldn't have gone there. So thank you to all of you, and for also being able to serve on the launch all of Taylor's sentiments that women are nurturers and servants, and we're all quiet, and we have voice and participate in all levels of society, even in government, and to use their voice and to become involved and run for office. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming to our meeting tonight and to celebrating this day with us. And it's such an honor and a privilege to serve with all of you. Even with the men, you know, they're very necessary, but women bring a special touch to government and to public office. So thank you very much. And thank you, Mayor, for allowing us to do this proclamation. Thank you.
Of course, it's my honor. And thank you, everybody, for your participation tonight and for your service. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you. All right. All right. Now moving on to the item B, the proclamation. Do we have Craig Patrick on the line?
Yes, Mayor, I believe we do.
I just promoted him to panelist, so it might be. See if he's rejoined. He is showing that he's rejoined the meeting. So, Craig, if you could unmute your audio and or video.
Craig?
Craig, can you hear us?
There you are. Audio's not working yet.
Pat Alpha Tango, checking. Pat Alpha Tango. Radio check.
That's it. All right. Okay.
Woo, here I am.
All right. Top of the evening to you, where we have this Irish American Heritage Week. So I've got a proclamation, and we're going to read the proclamation that the entire council has signed, and also tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. In front of our flagpole, we will raise the Irish flag on our city flagpole. We've got 3 poles out in front: the U.S., the state, and actually, I think we're going to keep the state up, take the city down, and then fly the Irish flag on a separate pole next to the U.S. flag. But that happens tomorrow.
What we did last year.
Yeah. I think that's flag protocol. We want to do everything right, and I see the discussions occurring in certain posting about making sure that there are certain protocols in place. But it's going to be a fun celebration tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I would encourage everybody to come out. Craig, there's a rumor floating around that you're going to bring a bagpipe person. Is that right?
Well, that's the word on the street.
Okay.
I can't confirm or deny. I mean,
exactly. Okay.
You know,
all
let's
right.
see, we'll roll the dice. I mean, it's early in the morning for us guys, so.
Exactly.
But that's the plan. I mean, do we have any opposition? Is there going to be any problems if there's a bagpipe player?
No.
Okay.
No. Police escort. Okay. All right. So here we go. This is the Irish American Heritage Week proclamation. Le Fili Padric Sonajuit. Originally, a religious holiday to honor St. Patrick, who introduced Christianity to Ireland in the 5th century. St. Patrick's Day has evolved into a celebration of all things Irish. The world's first St. Patrick's Day parade occurred on March 17th, 1762 in New York City, featuring Irish soldiers serving in the English military. This parade became an annual event, with President Truman attending in 1948. In Federal Way, we joined those celebrants across the globe in a wee bit of the old Irish cheer. Whereas I don't have much of a brogue, so bear with me. Whereas the earliest Irish immigrants streamed across the Atlantic Ocean from their troubled homeland to find refuge and a new start on these shores, and whereas at first they found resistance at every turn, struggling with discrimination and menial jobs, Irish Americans showed grit and determination, working their way up in the world. And whereas the Irish brought with them their rich legacy of their country, they also brought a burning determination to advance their lives and a fierce regard for what is right and just. It was in just this manner that the Irish were able to persevere and eventually make their many contributions to the cultural, political, family, and religious life of our nation. And whereas each year on March 17th, we celebrate Ireland and the Irish people by honoring St. Patrick, the patron saint and apostle of Ireland. And whereas in recognition of the challenges our community has faced with COVID-19, we look to the example of the Irish who overcame the Great Potato Famine and found the brightness of the American dream shining across our nation, greatly giving their all to create a better future for their families and their communities. Now, therefore, as a tribute to our Irish American community, their culture, and the contributions they've made to our city, state, and nation, in accordance with the grand tradition of celebrations in our community, we, the undersigned mayor and council of the city of Federal Way, do hereby proclaim the week of March 15th through 19th as Irish American Heritage Week in the city of Federal Way. We encourage appropriate celebrations of this occasion, ensuring, of course, proper COVID-19 protocols are in place to keep our friends and neighbors safe. Sláinte, which means health. Signed the 16th day of March, 2021.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Farrell. Thank you very much. That means a lot to us. And, I just want to say, in recognition of a Women in Public Service Day, I'd really like to recognize Catherine O'Toole, the former police chief of Seattle. And she went over to Ireland to work out the peace process between Ireland and Northern Ireland. And one of the things they came to an agreement on was that no one's got a monopoly on grief. Nobody has a monopoly on grief. We've all been through struggles. We all strive. We all try to make the better of it. We want to keep this a fun family event. There's going to be a bagpipe player there. There's going to be possibly leprechaun sightings. I don't know. But, we're just trying to keep this light and cheerful. And we're looking forward to a good time. I want to focus more on St. Patrick and the struggles that he went through. And that a lot of people don't know that St. Patrick really wasn't Irish. He was English. And he went over to Ireland. And the Irish people are so inclusive. They just welcomed him and turned him into a saint after he drove the snakes out. And, we just want to keep it light and focus on that and just make it a good time. It's been about a year since we've done this. And starting off, I knew we would get through this. It was going to be different, but, things have changed. We're not in person anymore. That's a little difficult to get used to and navigate the whole technology and everything. But we just want to celebrate the culture, the unity, the inclusiveness of the culture, and everything that it has to offer, and how we can learn from each other. And I want to thank the council and Mayor Farrell and Deputy Mayor Honda and former Councilmember Mark Kopang and everyone else that was involved in this. And I want to say thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this. We'll see everybody. I love a good bagpipe, so that'll be fun. And it'll be. I'll be looking out for the leprechauns. And thank you very much, Craig. I very much appreciate it. Yes, Council President Honda.
Would this be on Facebook Live?
I could probably wrestle Thomas down to the floor when the meeting's over and convince him to do this.
Well, don't hurt him because we need him. But
okay, I'll see what we can do. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
I like the idea, and frankly, actually, we could actually always just record it on, on a cell phone and just upload it to, we'll figure it out. But we'll do that.
Thank you.
What's that? Yeah, Facebook Live. Yeah, what he said. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Greg. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
But unlike Chicago, we're not going to go to like Steel Lake and turn any lakes green or anything.
Well, you might want to buy the Parks Department.
Actually, the lakes in Twin Lakes had an issue of that, but that was a whole nother matter. Let's not raise that up. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow. All right. Next, Mayor's Emerging Issues and Report. We just actually had two of our legislative delegation present, and that was Senator Claire Wilson and Representative Taylor. I actually, as we're just getting started this evening, they referenced a letter that I sent to them and to Representative Jesse Johnson regarding the Blake decision. I forwarded to the council as well. The Blake decision, for people watching at home, recently, as you likely already know, the Washington State Supreme Court ruled in a case referred to as Blake that the defendant's name was Blake in the case. In the Blake decision, the Washington State Supreme Court struck down as unconstitutional the RCW and Chapter 69, the unlawful possession of a controlled substance statute. And that has rendered, at this stage, possession of controlled substance essentially not enforceable and not necessarily illegal at this point because there is no enforceable statute on the matter. There is federal law. So the letter that I sent to our delegation, there's been quite a bit of discussion about what's happening down Olympia, about how that's going to be fixed. Essentially, the decision in Blake, without getting too far into it, throughout declared that the Constitution was that the statute was unconstitutional or was constitutionally infirm because it was a strict liability. It did not have an intent element or the word knowingly knowingly possessed. So there are some discussions in Olympia to address this. There's a Senate bill 5468. There's the House bill 1199. The 1199 got out of its committee. 5468, where they had that statutory language, did not. And there's been a deadline. But now I understand that my former colleague at the King County Prosecutor's Office, now Senator Manka Dhingra from the 45th Legislative District, which is the north of Lake Washington area, that she is working on a legislative fix to this. And that's something that we are, that I, in my correspondence today and communications with Senator Wilson today, that's something that that we are looking at and studying closely. If the concern was, and the reason I wrote the letter is there has been some concern that the legislature might not act or might not be able to come to consensus before the legislative session ends, because this was certainly something that was not anticipated. And so my letter to our legislative delegation was asking them to please fix this issue. It's critical for our community that there be a law in the books for this, that it's not tenable for a community such as ours or for a state, for that matter, to legally allow these controlled substances. If for some reason the legislature does not or is unable to come to an agreement on this and legislatively fix this issue for a statewide fix, I will be bringing forth an ordinance that will go through the regular course of business. It will be referred to the Parks and Public Safety Committee, and then on to the full council on April 20th, our second meeting in April. The committee meeting would be on April 13th. The full city council meeting is scheduled for our second meeting in April, which is the 20th. And this would be essentially the same language, except adding the knowingly element. and then it would be, because this would be a municipal court setting, it would be the law in federal way if the council approves it, and also it would be a gross misdemeanor, which is punishable by up to a year in jail and a $5,000 fine, which is the maximum. That would be the maximum penalty for that. But very few crimes get the maximum. So that is something that is in the works. Clearly, what the concern on cities picking this up is this is something that it is a cost shifting to the cities with regard to the filing and to all of the cost of those kinds of things that are usually borne because these have been felonies. They're usually borne by the counties. But there's also the issue, as I addressed in the letter, there's also the issue of a lack of a uniform law in the state of Washington, and that would be potentially problematic. So look for that, everybody. I wanted to give you an update on what's happening at Blake. The City of Federal Way will be, and I've been working with the council president on this, and I know the council president has been speaking to several council members and the chair of our Parks and Public Safety Committee, Councilmember Kochmar. We have been researching this. I've had the chief researching this in regard to certain issues. We've consulted with our city prosecutor, and we'll have a full memorandum and a draft ordinance. And we have alerted our partners in Sound Cities Association and our lobbyist about that. So that's a lot there. Please let me know if you've got any questions as that develops. But our hope and desire is for a statewide solution. We're hopeful that they will be able to fix this prior to the legislature ending their session. Okay, now let's go with the regular calendared items for the emerging issues. The COVID-19 update, our emergency manager, Ray Gross. Ray?
Good evening, Mayor, Council President, Council members. I will give you an update on COVID.
Ask Thomas to promote you to a panelist.
Thomas, I'm getting a message here. It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Yep, it's fixed. Go ahead and try again.
Okay, can everybody see that?
Yep, we can see it.
So this is the new Washington State COVID vaccine phases. Tomorrow we'll move into phase 1B tier 2, and it has all the eligible groups. In this morning's presentation with King County, they said this will add about 4,000 to the eligible population to be vaccinated in King County. This also has estimated dates as to when might move into additional phases. And lastly, this is being considered and looked at the state level, along with all the county public health departments, possibly going away, as President Biden said that on May 1st, there should be a COVID vaccine available to all. So they're putting a lot of thought into this, and possibly by May 1st, vaccines will open up to everyone. Another part that King County Public Health is kind of looking at and hoping for is the big part of this is going to be on the honor system, because there's an age element that has been removed and it's just occupational based. And they're looking into that, and they're hoping everyone does not jump the line. There's some updates as far as the vaccines. The vaccine supply overall is stabilizing more, as well as every week it's increasing. A couple of things have come out about Moderna. They're currently in teenager trials So from 18 to around 12, they've been testing their vaccine on that age group, and they will be starting very soon on children in vaccine trials, starting at around 11 years old and younger to about 6 months. And this morning, they said that that's about 20% of the population. And when they want to reach herd immunity, that's a key part of that population. So those trials hopefully will go as well as the adult trials. Johnson & Johnson is picking up their production, so their numbers are only going to increase the supply. AstraZeneca is having some problems in Europe. There's a fair number of countries over there yesterday, today, that have suspended use of AstraZeneca, and that's due to a low number of cases of blood clots in people that have taken that vaccine. So they're looking into that. But as of right now, a fair number of European countries has suspended AstraZeneca. There is, for AstraZeneca in the United States, they had planned to apply for emergency use authorization sometime in April. I don't know if what's going on in Europe will impact that here in the United States. And lastly, both Pfizer and Moderna are working on booster shots for the variants of concern. And it's projected that they'll come out later this winter. One of the other items on the vaccine update is there's about 20 mobile teams now. And in the discussion this morning, there's a lot of focus on the homebound elderly. And the plan currently is, as the adult family home population finish getting vaccinated, those mobile teams will then shift to the homebound elderly and begin processing the vaccine for those identified population. The thing is, logistically, that's going to take a lot more effort, but they are laying the groundwork now, so that should go fairly smooth. And then lastly, one of the things I always enjoy hearing is just the capacity. If supply was there, what King County's vaccine capacity would be in a week. And they said today that would be about 300,000 vaccines a week if the supply were there. So things are improving all around. Last week, the governor said that on March 22nd, all of Washington will be moving into phase 3 on the healthy roadmap to recovery. With that, this is kind of the criteria. So for King County to stay in phase 3, we need to have less than 200 cases per 100,000 in 14 days, as well as less than 5 COVID hospitalizations per 100,000 per 7 days. What this means is this will be assessed every 3 weeks, and we're no longer in regions, we're back to being counties. So every county will be assessed every 3rd week on that number. Some of this dovetails into reopening. There's been a lot of discussion amongst cities, King County, and the state about, can we reopen on March 22nd, or what does that look like? Kind of expecting something on this Friday from the governor's office about additional guidance. We talked to surrounding cities in King County. As of right now, there's no cities, at least when they talked to me yesterday, there's no plans to significantly reopen. A lot of them are sticking with either King County. King County still is on track to do openings in and around July based on whatever the current situation is at that time, as well as vaccine availability. So a lot of cities are sticking with that track, as well as getting guidance from the state. Just to put some perspective into this, some of the key indicators at King County, right now there's 88 cases per 100,000. So 88 new cases per 100,000. This is based on yesterday. And 3.8% of the hospital beds in King County are with COVID patients. So if following the matrix, we currently will be under, come March 22nd, we would pass. And lastly, this is the slide that just shows where Federal Way is. Overall, our numbers are kind of back to where we were in the first wave around April of last year, except for deaths. We're still averaging 1 to 2 deaths per week. But overall, our numbers are significantly down. The COVID testing is kind of plateaued, and the COVID variants, a bit concerning. The numbers are, at least for the UK variant, they are now doubling about every 10 days or so. In King County, we have 99 confirmed cases of the UK variant, 5 of the South African, and 1 of the Brazilian. And with that, that concludes my report, Mayor.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Councilmember Asafa Dawson, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Ray. I saw in on your report on the timeline 1B, it talks about pregnant women 16 and older. So pregnant women are getting the shots also?
Cool. Starting tomorrow, yes.
Okay. I didn't realize they were. I knew it wasn't tested on pregnant women, so I was curious about that.
That was a surprise to me as well.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Ray. I appreciate it. We've got, want to let everybody know, I was referenced earlier that our friend Cheryl is working on a drive-through diaper drive Saturday, March 27th, 10 a.m. at Fred Meyer's. So we would love to see people drop off diapers for a very worthy cause. I'd like to thank Cheryl Hurst for all her efforts on behalf of the community. She's really a star in our community and a great volunteer. And so we're going to have the drive-through diaper event for drop-off on Saturday, March 27th, 10 a.m. at the Fred Meyer. Okay, and now we've got Tim Johnson, our Economic Development Director, talking about the American Rescue Plan Act. Tim?
Thank you, Mayor. Council members, I'm waiting for the presentation PowerPoint to come up. Bill Bedino will be handling that. We're going to talk about the American Rescue Plan Act. That is the latest edition of the stimulus package that was just passed by Congress, and the president is visiting many states right now on that conversation. Bill, next slide, please. The act is $1.9 trillion. $1.9 trillion. Jeff Bezos is worth a little bit less than that. It's 628 pages. I tell you that, Bill, if you go to the next slide, please. People ask me during the course of the year, what have I read casually for interest? And I said, I haven't had time to read anything casually. I've been too busy reading the 868 pages of the CARES Act and the 600 plus of the American Rescue Plan. So there is a lot buried in that. And for the purposes of the night's discussion, I'm going to talk about what it means for federal way businesses, but let me not forget to tell you, there's a tremendous amount of money in child care programming, in assistance to parents with child care operators, both home-based as well as commercial. There's tremendous amount of money in this for our Public Works Department, and also something I haven't had a chance to talk to about our IT director about is that there's a tremendous amount of money in this particular plan for digital growth and expansion of fiber in communities. Next slide, please. So again, we're going to talk about business and labor programs. Next slide. So the number one thing that hit me right away when I was going through this was something that's called the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. And this had been working for some time by the National Restaurant Association. It's worth $29 billion. It will be administered by the SBA to the best of our ability. Now that may change, similar to what happened to the PPP, but this is a grant program. This is not PPP. This is a grant program, and it's aimed at mortgages or rent, utilities. You can even buy food and beverage inventory with it, payroll and operational expenses. I think what's important about it is that up to $5 billion of the fund will be set aside for restaurants with gross seats under 500,000. That fulfills about 80% of our restaurants in Federal Way. So the first 3 weeks of the application period will be prioritized to women, veterans, and socially and economically disadvantaged owned businesses. So that's significant for Federal Way because, as you all know, we have a high preponderance of restaurants that are owned by people of color. And so this is really aimed appropriately to help and assist them. Next one, please, Bill. So having followed up on that, we drafted a letter for the mayor, and we sent out letters and emails to almost 270 restaurants this week, informing them of this program as a part of the American Rescue Plan Act. And the phone's been ringing off the hook, and I've been getting emails already, so we know it's working. We're trying to explain to them that it is a federal program, not a city program, but we will work with them to try to help identify when the application comes out. Guidance hasn't been developed. I reflect back on last week's Friday memo that Ade Arawula and I send out weekly to you. We identified that or highlighted this program. The guidance is not out yet, but we wanted to alert our restaurants because it is a very short window for which they will have to apply for this. And we want to make sure that all of them have an equal opportunity to get those applications. And if they have any questions, we're there as their resources, along with the Small Business Development Center and Chamber of Commerce to help out. Next slide, please. Also within the context of this, and I'll go through these relatively quickly, $15 billion in addition to the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, an additional $7.25 billion in the Paycheck Protection Plan, 1.25 to nearly $3 billion. They haven't really given us an indication yet. That's a big spread when it gets into B's, as in billions, for the Shuttered Venue Grant Program, which we could qualify for at the PAC. $1.5 billion for additional support for the SBA for Small Business Development Centers, women's business programming and SCORE. And then one that's near and dear to Councilmember Seppa Dawson's, $3 billion for organizations like our Lodging Tax Advisory Committee to try to help reverse the loss from travel and tourism. So that's a significant output, and one where I'll work diligently on your behalf with our community shareholders, stakeholders in terms of programming that we have here in Federal Way. Next slide, please. There's a variety of other programs that are coming down the line, $75 million for occupational safety and health administration enforcement grants, and helping try to keep workers safe, all of our essential workers specifically, which I think is fundamental, not so much in the CARES Act as much as it is in this one. I've had, again, a lot of questions from people about these upcoming tax credits. I can't answer all those yet because I'm trying to go through the guidance that's going to be identified by the U.S. Treasury and the Internal Revenue Service. As I get more of that, I promise to report back to you either through a memo, or if you'd like me to come back in front of the council and make a presentation. This is just all numbers, but it is significant in the context of helping pay for emergency paid leave for employees. And so it's one of the more important elements we sometimes fail to understand. And then I think the other key element here is they were looking at tax loopholes for the largest and smaller employers related to paid sick and family leave. And that's very important. That's another one, and as it relates to our labor force. Next slide, please. So within the context of this, one of them that everybody is very concerned about, and I will tell you, in talking to some of the employees that we had to lay off here at the city, is the importance of extending the assistance for unemployment. So that's one of the big elements that gets in here. And then it's followed by, and you can see here, about $40 billion just focused at child care programming. So if you recall, Sir Bridgeford did a wonderful job and reached out to all of our child care folks. But as the council president recognizes, the child care industry has been really devastated, and particularly here in Federal Way, we've lost a high preponderance of child care operators. And so we really need to refocus our efforts and help there, because that child care helps get people back into the labor force. And so it's an important element for us. Go ahead, Bill. Lastly, I think it comes in the way of $350 billion for state, local, and territorial governments to pay frontline public workers. So that means that we can make, City of Federal Way may get some reimbursement for things. I think that's important. I think the other thing that's important out of this is that as we look at standing up any vaccine centers that we need to address, there is money in the American Rescue Plan Act. And I asked for help and assistance through our federal lobbyists to ensure the fact that we can get our fair share of that. Again, I just want to conclude by saying, Bill, you can rotate to the last one. Thank you. That there is a tremendous amount of money in this, and I just talked quickly about the business side, but there is a tremendous amount in public works and a tremendous amount over in information technology that we need to explore further to ascertain. And then there is another ledger sheet where I'm sure that Sarah Bridgeford, as she gets a chance, like myself, to go through this document, she'll find a variety of different programs that are set up for the social service side of the equation of helping our community. But that's pretty much in a nutshell what we have here for businesses in the American Rescue Plan. And finally, I want you to know that the governor has identified that they will release another $250 million for small business grants coming shortly. I'm hoping that I'll have information that we can extend to all of our businesses in Federal Way by the end of the month. But that money, again, will be handled only through the Department of Commerce, State of Washington. It is a little disheartening, only by virtue of the fact that it would be nice if we had that chance to deploy it here locally again to our businesses, because it really enables your city staff to have a really good handle of understanding both the businesses in brick and mortar as well as home-based businesses, what's going on currently. But it is what it is. The last round, we saw 88 businesses from Federal Way getting state grant money. I wish they would reduce the amount that they're giving each business so more businesses can get to it, but the state is inclined to give much larger grants. And so it makes it a lot difficult for some of our businesses to make that persuasive case to get a grant from the state, even if it is a smaller amount. That's it, Council. I'll take any questions you may have.
Okay, Councilmember Kochmar, then Councilmember Cephedos.
Thank you very much, Mayor. And Tim, I've had a question from the Senior Commission, the seniors who are on fixed income, wanting to know if there's anything that we can do to help them. There's sort of, the President Biden had talked about increasing Social Security, but that was left out of this program. And they're looking for some way that they can get some help because they're on fixed incomes. They're meeting tomorrow. The commission is meeting tomorrow at 2:00 at City Hall. I'm wondering if, I don't know if it's okay with the mayor, if you'd spend a little bit of time with them, just talking to them about how they might apply for rent reimbursement or mortgage and utilities through the American Rescue Plan. Is that something that would be doable, Mayor?
Of course. Tim,
so Mayor, I'll be more than honored to do that, but I'm not well read on that. I apologize. Out of that huge document, I had to focus my attention on, and of course you all understand this, the business side of the house. There is a tremendous amount out there. You are right. Councilmember Kochmar, that's an excellent question. There are a variety of different programs for seniors who are impacted by a whole host of disabilities that they may have, from sight to hearing to mobility, that this act does cover. But I apologize. It's just an overwhelming document.
Oh, that's okay. Of course, Tim. But, all I'm saying is that if you could just pop in and just say hello so they can connect you with what's going on and they know that there is something going on and that they know who they can contact. So thank you very much, Tim.
Yes, thank you.
And thank you, Mayor.
I will participate. Thank you, Mayor.
We're going to be reaching out to our federal lobbyists. We'll get the council an answer in writing as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. And then we had Councilmember Cephedos.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Tim. And I'm excited to see the child care part of the budget. I am wondering about businesses in Federal Way who don't have a business license for the city but have state license, is there direct access to state funds since they would not qualify for our city funds?
Okay, so first and foremost, we're not deploying any of these dollars that are coming through the American Rescue Plan Act. It's all federal to state, and as they will deploy accordingly at this point. So of interest, they do not need to have a City of Federal Way business license to make that application. All they need is a state license. So they should be able to proceed.
Great.
Good news.
So do they contact you then, or how do they proceed when it's time?
Okay. So like so many times, what I've been trying to do, and I appreciate the council, all of you helping, is that when we find out, the first thing I do is inform you. And then I immediately go into training with the state and federal officials to learn about the program so that when people contact your Office of Economic Development, we know who the key contact is for their referral. But in the meantime, we also take inventory of who they are, what their needs are, and make sure that they don't fall through any of the grate, if you will, figuratively speaking, in terms of trying to get assistance. And that's where we're at and what we've been doing. And I think we've been doing a very good job on outreach and support.
Okay. Councilmember Russo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great presentation, Tim. I had a question again on, I believe, was it on the PPE or PPP? Excuse me. When we pass out the flyers to the businesses, that grant was didn't have to be repaid. Is that part of some of this too?
Okay, so let me walk you through this. So there was an additional $7 billion put into PPP. So I think that there's some changes going on right now in Congress as it relates to the Rescue Plan Act amends the amount of money that came from the CARES Act for PPP. So it adds more money into that. That's the first thing. The second thing is, and I'm looking at my calendar as I turn my head here, the original deadline for the PPP on this round is supposed to be the end of this month. But I'm hearing very strong networking that's telling me that it looks like that's going to be extended, which is very good news. Now, having said that, to answer your question about whether it's forgiven, we are working hand in glove with everybody to make sure that they have submitted their appropriate paperwork for that forgiveness. But let me share this with you, and this is a travesty that I'm finding out every day, that somehow through their process of working with their banks or working with the federal government, working with community development financial institutions, whoever they were working with in their application process, they failed to file the forgiveness papers. So what's wound up happening is they failed to meet the timeline because they didn't get their paperwork in, and now they're being hit, blindsided, with now having to pay this loan off. And there seems to be no forgiveness. So there may be a situation where this becomes so untenable that I will come back and ask you, Mayor and Council President and Council members, for a letter to our congressional representatives to ask if they can't pass an amendment for forgiveness of the PPP. I apologize. I know that sounded kind of confusing, but maybe by a shake of your head, did you understand? I hope that's understood.
I got it, Tim. I got it. Thank you. Thank you. That answered my question. Thank you.
Okay. And then Councilmember Kraft.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Tim, for your presentation. So based on your last comment, do we know what sort of businesses are missing that deadline and therefore having to pay it back? Is it affecting certain businesses over others?
Very good question. It does not appear to be any particular category, either a sector or a business owned by a specific individual of race or ethnicity. It's spotty all across the board. Yeah, it's all across the board, and it's not any more men than it is women or whatever the case may be, own businesses. It is just an unfortunate set of circumstances where somebody failed to see that document, and unfortunately, there are so many applications out there that you would think that there would be a box to check. Mayor, I use your term, sir. You always say we got to make sure that all the boxes are checked. What do we have to submit? And apparently, there's nobody working individually with everybody to the level that they cross-check that.
Okay, that's just poor planning.
That's an unfortunate set of circumstances. That was the reason why I think the success of what you directed city staff to do with the CARES Act over the summer and into the fall, and the deployment of the grants, the direction that you provided, was probably one of the premier programs in King County, because we visited with everybody, and not just once, I mean multiple times, so that and if you recall, you gave us direction to make sure that whether it was a translation issue or just track them down in terms of timing, you just don't shut them off completely. We took care of everybody, absolutely everybody. And I think that's the success of the program and why people have such great admiration for the work that was done in the period of time that it was done. And that's been my biggest concern. And again, I use this phrase, we know what we don't know. I can't tell you how many There's no buildings underwater. There's no buildings in ashes. So when I look at those four walls, I can't tell you how bad financially they are. I mean, people are open and they're struggling. They're in business, but it's always a difficult time.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Great question. Council President Honda.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim, for the report. Would it be better to write a letter sooner than later to our delegation, saying that we know that there are businesses here in our city that could possibly need to pay this back?
I could certainly draft a letter if that is up to Mayor and President, Council President, and the Council. I can draft a letter for your review tomorrow and get that processed for you for your review and edification, and get it out the door. Timing is, I think it's very important. So whether it's now or later, I think it needs to be done.
We're not going to have a council meeting. Go ahead. Go ahead, Council President.
It just seems to me that the sooner that we get the letter out, perhaps some action could be taken and our businesses might feel a little bit more comfortable that, I mean, I can't imagine being in a position where you thought that one thing and now something else is happening that could really jeopardize staying in business. You know, we want to keep everyone open and do what we can to help them.
Absolutely. Now, for time purposes, it'll probably come from me, and I'll say on behalf of the council and myself. We can't get the council to sign the letter because it would take, it would have to be our next meeting. So we'll send a letter out to that effect before our next meeting, and that's because obviously we can't have a quorum.
Right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. I don't see any more hands up. Tim, great job. Thank you very much. I want to let everybody know we sent out dozens, if not approaching about 100 letters out to many of our businesses, letting them know about this, giving the details out to many of our businesses about what's going on, and mainly restaurants, I believe. Okay, so council committee reports: Parks, Recreation, Human Services, and Public Safety. Councilmember Kochmar.
Thank you very much, Mayor. We had our meeting on March 9th, and all of the items that were on that meeting are on tonight's agenda. Item B, we're going to buy a police investigations vehicle. 2020 program year consolidated annual performance and evaluation report. That's item C. Item D on the consent agenda is interlocal agreement with Public Health of Seattle King County for the South King Mobile Medical Program, and item E, which is the interlocal agreement for the purpose of pooling the sales tax receipts with South King Housing and Homelessness Partners to administer funds. And then finally, there's going to be a public hearing tonight, which is the updated program year 2021 Community Development Block Grant CDBG Fund Annual Action Plan. Our Human Services Commission is a very hardworking commission, and I'm very proud that they are part of my under my chairmanship. And so thank you very much. I'll have more to report when it comes at the end of the meeting. Our next meeting for Parks will be on April 13th at 5 p.m. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay, next we've got Land Use and Transportation. Councilmember Baruso.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll keep this brief. We have on items F through H on the consent agenda on our agenda today. Our first reading, one ordinance, Council Bill number 800, adoption of 2019 state mandated building codes. And our next meeting will be April 4th, 2021, and probably still be Zoom. That's my report. Thank you.
All right, great. And then we've got FEDREC, Finance, Economic Development, Regional Affairs, Councilmember Tran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have anything to report out today, but our next meeting is going to be on March 23rd, 2021 at 5 p.m. on Zoom. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Cepheus for Lodging Tax Advisory Committee and also on regional committees, as we do not have Councilmember Moore here.
We had our meeting last Wednesday for LTAC, and we reviewed a variety of actions involving how to catapult the industry so impacted by COVID-19. And so both the accommodations and specifically the hospitality sector are happy about the upcoming opening to phase. However, a return to normal will take some time. Meanwhile, we have new managers at the Hampton Inn, La Quinta, and Comfort Inn hotels. We are working with all of them, getting to know the city and welcoming each to Federal Way. And our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, April 14th at 10 o'clock. And it's probably going to be Zoom as well. And for PIC, I don't think there's a report. Martin already reported last week for the previous meeting. The next meeting is scheduled for tomorrow at 7 p.m. And that's my report. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Council President Honda.
Thank you. At the PIC meeting last week, I think it was last week, there's a report on the best starts for kids. That levy is expiring and could be on the primary ballot in August. And I'm hoping that perhaps we could get some information for our council and our citizens before, if it is put on the ballot, and so that we could understand it better. There was quite a bit of concern about this going on the ballot and how much it could potentially cost the citizens. I wanted to let the public know that at our 5 o'clock meeting, we had a information meeting for the DEIS for the OMF South here in Federal Way. This is a comment period now. Please contact any one of us on council or the mayor if you have concerns or need information. We need the public to step up and to give comments to Sound Transit if you desire this in our community, or if you do not desire this in our community and want it located at the Midway landfill. Information is on the City Council Facebook page, or will be soon, about how you can leave a public comment. This is very important for the city, and we need the public to comment on this. There is a limited time that you are able to comment. Also, we will have the dates for the public open houses, which will be on Zoom, so that people can attend those remotely. Also, the Board of Health is meeting this Thursday at 1 o'clock, and that can be, you can watch that on TV, and it's also on Zoom. One of the things that I tried very hard to get on the Board of Health to study when I became a member of that committee was the impact on the airport and the health in South King County, and actually all of King County. And we are having an update on airport community health profiles and airport pollutant impacts on health. That will be probably starting about 1:30 or so. It's a study that the University of Washington has conducted. We've had one report on it so far, and this will be a follow-up report. This is really important. It not only impacts those in South King County, but it also impacts people in Seattle. And I was very pleased when I tried to get this on our work plan 2 years ago, that I had support from Seattle City Council members, because they felt it was important to their community also. We will also have a briefing on COVID-19 and the vaccine effort in King County. So if you're interested, that's 1 o'clock on Thursday. And Mayor, I was wondering if at some point we could get an update on the yellow house and the removal of that. I've had some questions from citizens, and I believe it's still standing. I know it was just 2 weeks ago that it was in front of us for the asbestos removal, but yep. I don't know that what's going on with it at this point.
I signed the contracts.
Thank you.
And so the contracts have been signed. They come across my desk. And then Brian, when is the day? Because I also drove by there just the other day and saw that it's still standing, and had a lot of debris in it, and it's really nearby, adjacent to it. It looks horrible. So Brian, are you online?
Yes. So the asbestos has been removed, and we're proceeding to the next steps of demolition. We did learn that the house is going to be up for auction on Friday. So we are actually more pressed to get the asbestos expense on the tax roll so that when it does change property, we can collect that. So that's our priority right now, to get that filed. But we are proceeding with the demolition, especially if the new owner has no interest of doing anything like the previous owner. We need to get that going. So if there's any questions, I can follow up with that.
What's the date that it's going to get knocked down?
We are working with the contractor on that. Like I said, our resources are devoted to getting the asbestos removal, which was almost $30,000 on the lien for the property, so that we can collect that on if it does in fact go for auction on Friday.
Council President Honda.
Thank you, Mayor. Brian, if it has a new owner, will that delay the removal of the house because of a new owner?
Our schedule will not change, but this actually may be a good thing. They may be interested to do it themselves. Usually if there's a new owner that's wanting to acquire property, then they have an interest in doing so. So hopefully they might beat us to the punch, but we're not going to rely on that unknown factor to slow down what we're intending to do with the demolition.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
We have a company that's all set to do it. Presumably whoever would buy it wouldn't have. We should have somebody staged, ready to go. There should be a date for this, right?
Yes, we're working on that, Mayor.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about this tomorrow. We need to.
Thank you.
This structure needs to come down like now. I mean, as soon as possible.
Yeah, we had to get the asbestos out, and so we've performed that, and we want that $30,000 expense that we've currently paid for to get on the property, which there is a process in of itself to get it on the tax rolls, and so that's where we're doing right now. But yes, we're fully intending to demolish the property with the contract that we have in place.
Well, filing paperwork is a whole different matter than the physical act of taking down the building. So we can walk and chew gum at the same time. I don't understand what the delay would be about filing that paperwork and then simultaneously having the people that we contract with to knock the building down.
Yeah, maybe we can talk. We just lost a compliance officer, so we are short-staffed. So we're doing as fast as we can.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll need to talk about this tomorrow. Thank you very much for bringing this up, Council President Honda. Okay.
Thank you.
But my understanding, you didn't lose a compliance officer that handles that property, right?
No, but the one before her was left like 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
So it was a quick turnaround, and we've got high transition going on right now. So there's some staffing issues we're dealing with as well. And this is not off our radar. We're moving forward.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Anything else, Council President
Hunter? No, thank you very much. I appreciate the information.
We share your, I certainly, and I know Brian and everybody over in community development and all those folks want to get that done. So thanks, Brian, for answering those questions. Not to put you on the hot seat, but a lot of people in that area who live next door to it, immediately to it, boy, they're just, they've shown a tremendous amount of patience. And I think all of us are chomping at the bit to get this knocked down and cleaned up. Okay. Thank you, Brian. All right. Public comment. Stephanie.
Yes, Mayor, we have 4 people signed up. The first one, we have Rico Thomas on the line, Zanash Hadera, Triana Holiday, and Cindy Wilbur. So first we'll let Rico Thomas speak.
All right. Mr. Thomas. Hello, Mr. Thomas.
Mayor, I think he was signed in twice, so I'm going to try unmuting the other one. All right, Rico, you might need to press *6 to unmute yourself on the phone.
Hello, Mr. Thomas?
Still showing him as muted. So let me ask him again to unmute. He is not unmuting. Oh, there he goes.
Oh, I'm unmuted now. Cool. Let me get back to you then. There we are. Hi there.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi there, Mr. Thomas.
So
the floor is
you're hearing
yours.
me now?
We can, yes.
Thank you very much. Good evening, members of the City Council and Mayor. To begin with, thank you for allowing me to voice and give my support for hazard pay legislation. My name is Rico Thomas. I'm currently an employee of Safeway here in Federal Way on 320th. Being employed and face-to-face with customers has been anything but a walk in the park for grocery workers. Actually, it's been very taxing, vexing, and one of the more negative and deadly things that have been required of grocery workers all around the country. It's been stressful and extremely anxious time for my coworkers. As a shop steward, I speak regularly with my coworkers about their fears of getting family members ill. I myself dread making my wife ill. We are nowhere near being under control with this pandemic. There are new variants being discovered daily. Mask mandates and social distancing are still in effect. At the height of the first wave of our $2 hazard pay was taken away from us about 9 months ago. Since then, there have been hundreds and thousands of deaths. The chance of getting sick increased regularly. Now in our fourth or fifth wave, we're still receiving no hazard pay. We're required to social distance and wear masks. My question is, why are we not receiving hazard pay? My store, like so many other stores here in Federal Way, barely care for the employees. Even though profits and bonuses are through the roofs, we supply our own masks, our own PPEs, and constantly battle with customers about masks and distancing. We, the employees, have shown a high standard of care for our employers' customers, which is not shown to us. We deserve hazard pay, and I beg that this council seriously consider enacting a hazard pay ordinance like the ones in Seattle, Burien, unincorporated King County, Long Beach, California, Oakland, etc. As I notice, you are all able to socially distance and can maintain your jobs. We are not allowed to. I would like to thank you for your time and listening to me. I'm done. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for your comment.
All right. The next person we have up is Zanash Hadera. Go ahead and unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hi. My name is Zanash Hadera, and I am a resident of Federal Way for the past 20 years. My concern is for the Boys and Girls Club. We've been having a challenge to get our kids registered so they can have a positive place to have access to the positive place. But currently, we have athletic director who, I don't know how the kids from NMQA will have access before the youth of residents in Federal Way. And that's been a challenge to get them registered. And then we have reputable citizens of Federal Way. Coach Ray has provided two of a shooting machine for the basketball, but none of our kids can have access to that because we're limited. And in addition, we have athletic director for personal reason that he is telling us that we can't have a session moving forward because he has a personal challenges to get his kids who doesn't have, this is the way he said, he coded as, my kids doesn't have a driver license, so he needs to be available to help his wife and kind of leaving our kids with nowhere to go. And how can we address this so our kids can have a positive place to go to? With the school not being open, it's just a lot of, it's too challenging to have our kids to where they could go. And I'm addressing as a citizen and as a mom, how the councils, the mayors can address the situation and find a solution to the problem. We have coaches who wants to volunteer, they're getting the runaround even though they've been in that federal way for over 20 years, and knowingly that they coaches volunteer their time, they're having to have a problem about completing the training, the background check, and all that stuff. So to me, it's becoming a very hard, and I would like the city council, the mayor, and to address this so our kids have a safe and a positive place they can go to.
Okay, thank you very much for your comment. I'll have Bill Vadino from my office be in contact with you. He'll get the contact information from our city clerk and reach out to you and coordinate with our parks department, give you some options, but also give you some next steps. And I want to figure out what's exactly going on there. But thank you very much for giving comment tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Bill, let's take care of that tomorrow. Thank you. Okay. All right. Any other public comment?
Yep, we have two more. Next person is Trayana Holiday.
Hi, City Council members and Mayor. I have been a resident of Federal Way since 2003. And my family was displaced due to gentrification in the Seattle Central District area. And I do a lot of advocacy and policy work and community organizing in Seattle because that still feels like a bit of home to me. When I was told and heard about how this athletic director over at the Boys and Girls Club was running, kind of pulling a runaround game on coaches who have been here for decades, working with youth, I said I have to join in on public comment. I think it is quite irreparable for him to want to put up barriers that really don't exist for these coaches that have really shown their pure dedication to these young folks that are trying to be good kids, good students, and find a way to bring their talent to the game of basketball. We have people for the Boys and Girls Club that have long-standing relationships, and as transitions of power have happened, unfortunately, Dolan has not shown a relational approach with our children or with the coaches. And this is what Zanash was just pointing out. I feel that it is important for the City of Federal Way to really acknowledge that they have received an influx of families due to gentrification that have been run out of their homes and run out of their communities because of the high cost of living there. It is important to be able to build relationship. It is something that I grew up in the Central District of Seattle. It is something that I believe Federal Way now has an opportunity to do. This is just one measure. Looking at how somebody is wielding power and their small amounts of authority to put roadblocks up for coaches that are trying to do what's right for these kids, investing their own money in shooting machines, bringing the kids together. This is what building community looks like. And I'm encouraging those in the city council and the mayor. I thank you, Mayor, for saying you're going to get right on it, because it is important that parents and these students really feel that this is their community. And the ways that they do that is through sometimes a game of basketball. It boils down to simplicity. And I think that we have a real opportunity to, again, begin to build and deepen relationships with these coaches that are willing to volunteer their time and showcase to these kids that they are a priority in the city that they live in. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Holiday. And once again, I'll have Bill. His name is Bill Vadino. He'll be reaching out, and he is a policy and community outreach person extraordinaire. So we'll get right on this. And thank you again.
Thank you.
All right, Mayor, the last person we have signed up is Cindy Wilbur.
Ms. Wilbur?
She's calling in by phone, Mayor, so she might have to press *6 to unmute herself. There you go.
Hi, can you all hear me?
We can, yes.
Hi, my name is Cindy Wilbur, and good evening to the members of council, and thank you for having me here tonight to share my support for passing hazard pay legislation for grocery workers. I've worked at the Federal Way Fred Meyer for a little over a year. I work in the quick list department, which fulfills online orders for customers. Our store has not made our health and safety a priority. The capacity limit in our store is constantly ignored, which directly puts workers in harm's way. Our employers refuse to tell us when we are exposed to a coworker that has tested positive for COVID-19. We find out when the employee comes back that we were directly exposed to them. I have friends that don't know anybody who has contracted COVID, but inside my store, we have had countless members contract this deadly virus. There have been so many outbreaks that I stopped counting months ago. A coworker in my department had her elderly mother living with her. She unknowingly contracted COVID-19 and transferred it to her mother, who tragically passed away. This hit me and my coworkers incredibly hard. The anxiety we felt was overwhelming. That could have been any one of us. I am solely responsible for my 96-year-old grandmother. I'm responsible for getting her food and medicine to her and for getting her to her doctor's appointments. In my high-risk job, I put my grandmother's life at risk daily. I received a text from the Washington State app that notified me I was exposed to COVID. I know I was exposed at work. I do not socialize outside of work to reduce the chance of exposing my grandmother. For days, as I was waiting my COVID results, I was terrified I had unknowingly exposed my grandmother. For her, it would have likely been a death sentence. The Click List department has blown up since the beginning of COVID. When I first started, the carts we pushed weighed about 250 pounds, but when 6 totes were full with the product, the cart could weigh as much as 450 pounds. A few months into the pandemic, Fred Meyer decided to retrofit another 3 totes to the cart, giving an ending weight of over 500 pounds. Trying to breathe while wearing a mask is difficult enough, but when you are pushing and pulling so much weight, breathing becomes so much more difficult. Most workers in my department make between minimum wage and $14.39 an hour. We work strictly in the grocery department, yet we do not make grocery wages. I put myself and my loved ones at great risk every day. Grocery workers have been on the front line since this pandemic started, providing food and essential products to our communities. I ask this council to please consider and pass an ordinance to recognize the essential and dangerous nature of our job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Your mic's up, Mayor.
All right. Stephanie, does that conclude public comment?
Yes, it does. We have a few for the public hearing, but no more for general comments.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. Now going on to consent agenda. These items have been through a council committee, as referenced earlier, and they can be passed all in one motion. After I read them all, I ask if a council member would want to pull an item for separate consideration. 5A, minutes for the March 2, 2021 minutes. B, police investigation, purchase a vehicle. C, 2020 program year consolidated annual performance and evaluation report, referred to as the CAPER. Item D, interlocal agreement with Public Health of Seattle-King County for the South King Mobile Medical Program. E, interlocal agreement for the purpose of pooling sales tax receipts with South King County Housing and Homelessness Partners, SKIP, cities to administer funds. One project 85% design status report and authorization to bid. Item G, NPDES annual report and stormwater management program, SWMP plan update. H, LED streetlight conversion, city-owned lights project, final acceptance. Council, are there any items that a member would want to pull for separate consideration? All right, Council President Honda, do you have a motion?
Yes, I move approval of items A through H on the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? All right, matter passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we'll have a public hearing, updated program year 2021 Community Development Block Grant, CDBG Annual Action Plan. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. We'll have a staff report from Sarah Bridgeford, our Community Services Manager. Then after that, we'll have public comment for 3 minutes each, and then council discussion and questions. Sarah, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Farrell. I will share my screen. Mayor Farrell, Council President Honda, and council members, this evening I am presenting on the updated 2021 Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, Annual Action Plan. The policy question before you is, should City Council approve the updated program year 2021 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan? The 2021 Annual Action Plan, as presented to and approved by City Council in November of 2020, included a placeholder for funding that needed to be reallocated to other eligible projects. I will detail where those funds are coming from on the next slide. The timing of the decisions that made the funds available precluded a process to allocate the funds and still comply with public engagement requirements. Additionally, I want to note that the city's Annual Action Plan allocation is $768,610. At the time of the Human Services Commission meeting in February of 2021, this amount was not publicly available. However, this was addressed with the Commission, and the documents that are presented to City Council include the actual allocation. The available funds come from a number of different sources in our 2021 program year. The first being $235,000 from the Section 108 debt service. We will be suspending the use of CDBG for that debt payment. There is $146,417 from Housing Repair Program. This will not impact the operation in 2021, as we have sufficient funds from prior year programs available to cover any projects that come forward in 2021. $22,193 are available due to an increase in the 2021 allocation over what we anticipated based on our 2020 allocation. This is the difference between the anticipated and the actual allocations, less a pro rata adjustment to planning and admin and public services. And then the final item is a potential amount of $37,000 from code compliance as the city evaluates program alignment. And with those different sources, that brings us to a total of available funding from $403,610 to $440,610. The annual action plan is structured in a way where that range is acceptable, and we would not have to come back to City Council for a change in that range. You'll see that it's noted throughout that updated annual action plan. The proposed use of the available funds is to provide capital funds for the acquisition or rehabilitation for shelter for adults experiencing homelessness. Homelessness continues to be a priority for the city and was added to the 2020 to 2024 CDBG Consolidated Plan as a specific goal to address. As you're aware, there is not a permanent year-round shelter in the city of Federal Way. Reach Out has also faced challenges in the pandemic and has temporarily moved, though it is unknown what it may look like after the pandemic, as the rotating locations for just 6 months out of the year is a difficult model to sustain. Further, permanent shelters show better outcomes as shelter guests experience greater stability, allowing them to work towards their goals and address their crises. This is essential when we have community members who are living unsheltered on the street and in other places that are not meant for habitation. A permanent year-round shelter would address a critical gap locally. We know it will not have the capacity to address the needs in the community, and shelter won't work for everyone, but it provides connections to services and opportunities for people to regain housing and address their individual issues and goals. Establishing a year-round permanent shelter has been supported by the Homelessness Task Force, City Council, and Mayor Farrell. At this time, neither a project nor a provider has been identified. The purpose of this update is to establish City Council support and move the annual action plan forward to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for approval. The city will use a competitive process to select a provider. The Human Services Commission will review and present a recommendation to City Council for consideration. $444,000 is a significant investment for the city, but it will not fund the acquisition and rehabilitation of the facility, let alone ongoing operating costs. And that just means that there are a number of factors that go into a project becoming feasible, even with this level of support from the city. As such, any project will require time to move forward, and should a feasible project not materialize, a different recommendation may be made for the use of these funds. And this is just a quick overview of the timeline for the updated annual action plan. A public comment period opened on February 12th and closed earlier this afternoon. We have received 5 comments in support of shelter, which have been shared with council, and no other comments. These are in addition to any comments that may be made during the public hearing. Should City Council approve the updated annual action plan, it will be submitted to HUD with the King County Consortium. At this time, it is anticipated that we will submit our annual action plan by mid-April. And with that, I conclude my presentation.
All right. Council, are there any questions? Council President Honda.
Thank you, Mayor. Sarah, how would a year-round permanent shelter in Federal Way look in relationship to what King County is trying to do to provide year-round permanent shelters in throughout King County? Would they be a partner? How would that work?
Yes, King County would be a partner. As we've talked about in the past with City Council, we are likely to only see 1 or 2 24/7 shelters in South King County, just based on capacity and ability to sustain a shelter. And that's one of the reasons why I talked about feasibility, as well as this would require different funding sources, likely King County. And King County has been part of conversations as well. We've had conversations with Mark Ellerbrook, with regional groups that are convening around shelter and planning for shelter in South King County. If other funds don't materialize, or there is a different path forward for shelters, then that would be a point that we would reallocate these funds. But it is in coordination and concert with the other planning efforts around homelessness.
Okay, thank you, because I know that as a city, it would be very difficult for us to do this on our own. So, thank you.
Okay. Council, any other questions? Sarah, great job in your presentation. Thank you very much. Stephanie, do we have any public comment?
We do. We have one person signed up, and I do have written comments. So Allison Eisinger is on the line and would like to give some comments.
All right.
Good evening, Council President and Council members. I want to just first check that you can hear me.
We can, yes. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. My name is Allison Eisinger. I have the honor of serving as the director of the Seattle-King County Coalition on Homelessness. And our coalition's mission is to mobilize our community to challenge the systemic causes of homelessness and advocate for housing justice. Our vision is that we live in a region that acts on a shared sense of responsibility to ensure everyone has a home. And I'm really simply here tonight to offer my thanks to the people of Federal Way for considering making this significant allocation of local CDBG dollars to address the unmet need for shelter for people in your community and in our community. My organization has historically advocated for both good quality shelter and the housing that you know and we know is the answer to homelessness. but we try not to get caught up in the idea that it is an either or. And I want to particularly underscore the sense that I have as someone who worked with children and families experiencing homelessness for many years, and also has had the opportunity to see all sorts of community efforts to meet people's immediate crisis needs, as well as plan for a healthier housed future all across King County. The value of having a steady, regular, stable place to not just sleep at night, but conduct your life cannot be overstated. The COVID-19 pandemic, of course, has given us all a profound understanding of what a privilege it is to be able to stay home and wash our hands. But also, when I worked in public health, one of the things that was brought home to me over and over again is that people experiencing homelessness, on average, live 20 to 25 years shorter lives than their peers who have housing. And I think that is not unrelated to the strain and stress of not having safety, security, and a decent night's sleep. So by making a commitment of your local dollars to partner, of course, with other regional, state, and federal dollars to ensure that you are meeting basic needs with dignity and care, I think you are making a very significant statement about the kind of community Federal Way is and can be. And I simply want to thank you for considering taking this step.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mayor, I have written comments I need to read into the record. They are from Robin Korak from Multi-Service Center. It says, on behalf of MSC, I strongly support the initiative to establish a shelter for adults experiencing homelessness in Federal Way as a part of the city's updated 2021 CDBG Annual Action Plan. Not only is homelessness currently an issue in our city and throughout South King County, there's a very real possibility that the need for shelter may increase as a result of the pandemic. MSC has continued to see an increase in the needs of Federal Way residents who have been laid off or have had hours reduced as a result of the pandemic. In the early days of the pandemic, we experienced an over 40% increase in the number of customers accessing our food bank, and over 40% of these customers had never sought our services before. In addition, MSC helped over 800 families with more than $3 million in rental assistance just between October and December of last year. Many of these families and others like them are barely getting by and are at significant risk for experiencing homelessness, particularly once the moratorium ends. Those who are experiencing homelessness are also at a high risk for medical issues during this pandemic. We know that homelessness affects our entire community, not just the individuals who don't have access to safe, affordable housing, but also local businesses and organizations, as well as local government. I therefore would strongly encourage the city to move forward with the plan to implement a shelter for adults experiencing homelessness in Federal Way. Thank you for your consideration in this matter. Sincerely, Robin Korak, CEO, Multi-Service Center.
Okay. Does that conclude public comment?
Yes, Mayor, that's all I have signed up.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Are there any more council discussions or questions? All right. Hearing none. Councilmember Kushmar, do you have a motion with regard to the public hearing?
Oh, goodness. Well, I seem to be missing that. So I'm going to move to approve the updated program year 2021.
Actually, Councilmember, I think that we have to close the public meeting first. Do you have a motion to close public meeting?
Thank you. I make a motion to close the public meeting. Thank you.
Very good.
Is there a second?
Second. All right. There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Okay.
All right. Now we move on.
Okay. So I am going to move to approve the updated program year 2021 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan.
Is there a second? All right.
Is there a second?
Is there any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, council business. Adoption of the 2021, this is item 7A. Adoption of the 2021 labor agreement between the City of Federal Way and Teamsters Local Union number 117, representing Federal Way Police Lieutenants. Staff report with Ryan Gall, our City Attorney. Ryan?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Let me share my screen. Okay. So I'm here tonight to present a collective bargaining agreement with Teamsters Local 117, representing the Federal Way Police Lieutenants. By way of background, the lieutenants for the city were previously represented by an association that just represented them, that had been created by them. With that previous organization, we entered into collective bargaining and entered into a 3-year collective bargaining contract that covered the years 2019 through 2021. In 2022, the association was decertified by the lieutenants, and they reorganized under the Teamsters Local 117. The Teamsters 117 and our local bargaining group met one time, basically just to talk about a single term in the current contract, and then the local 117 proposed that we adopt basically the existing contract with all of the terms with just a minor change that I'll explain now. The main change, which is minor, is that the city will agree to facilitate the lieutenants participating in the Teamsters, what they call the Teamster Retirees Welfare Trust program. It's a retirement program that offers health insurance coverage post-retirement if they pay into it as employees. This trust will be funded entirely by employees. The city does not have a matching contribution. There is no direct cost to the city. The CBA was also modified with minor grammatical corrections, and of course, the name of the association was replaced throughout with Teamsters 117. Like I said, the wages and other terms of the existing CBA would remain in effect. The mayor's recommendation is that you approve the collective bargaining agreement as proposed. Do you have any questions?
All right, council. Any questions? There you are. Okay. All right. Seeing none, let's see here. Council President Honda, do you have a motion?
Yes. I move approval of the proposed collective bargaining agreement.
Second.
Second.
And a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Matter passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Number 8, ordinances, first reading. We've got Council Bill number 800, adoption of the 2018 state mandated building codes. First, we'll have a staff report from Scott Sproul, our building official, then public comment, and then council discussion and questions. Mr. Sproul, the floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Let me share my screen. Okay. There we go. So this is adoption of the state mandated construction codes. The construction codes enforced by the city fall into 2 categories: state mandated codes and local codes adopted by the jurisdiction. State mandated codes are required to be enforced at the city and the county level pursuant to RCWs. City adopts codes at the local level in order to reconcile these codes with other regulatory requirements and establish fee resolutions. Local codes are permissible and are needed in order to provide enforcement for the local building requirements. State mandated codes are the International Building Code, International Residential Code. We have the existing building code, mechanical code. This includes the fire code, maintenance code, plumbing, electrical, and energy, and then factory assembled structures. Local codes, we have a swimming pool and hot tub spa that's in the code. And council's options are to approve the ordinance, not approve the ordinance. Mayor recommends approval. Any questions?
All right.
This is a 3-year cycle too.
Very good. Thank you very much, Scott. All right, council, any questions? Actually, Scott, if you could stop sharing your screen, that way I can see the council.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Very good. Thank you very much. Council, any questions? Okay, I don't see any. Stephanie, before I ask for public comment, can you please read the ordinance title?
Yes. And we don't have anyone signed up for public comment. So,
okay,
Council Bill 800, adoption of 2018 state mandated building codes, an ordinance of the City of Federal Way, Washington, relating to the adoption of the Washington State Building Code and related matters, amending Federal Way Revised Code 13.16.020, 13.16.030, 13.20.050, 13.20.090, 13.22.020, 13.22.030, 13.26.020, 13.26.030, 13.28.020, 13.28.030, 13.31.020, 13.31.030, 13.31.040, 13.34.020, 13.34.030, 13.38.020, 13.41.020, 13.43.020, and 13.43.030, repealing Federal Way Revised Code 13.20.010, 13.20.020, 13.20.030, 13.20.040, 13.20.060, and 13.20.070.
Okay, thank you very much. There is no public comment. Is there any more council discussion? Okay, hearing none. Councilmember Brusso, do you have a motion?
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor. I move to forward proposed ordinance to the April 6th, 2021 council meeting for second reading and enact.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Matter passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And thank you, Scott. Great job. All right. Now we're on to council reports. We'll start the second meeting of the month. So we'll start with Councilmember Kochmar.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I'd like to, tomorrow morning, I'm going to be meeting with the chair of the Senior Commission, talking about what we might be able to do to help seniors on fixed income. And so I thank you very much for having Tim Johnson stop in at the Senior Commission later on that day at 2 o'clock. They're very concerned about what's happening, and they're all worried about what's going to happen to them. I'd like to suggest, if you wouldn't mind looking at it, Mayor, looking at the community center, since it's now open, whether or not we could reduce some of the prices so that we could get more people coming to the community center after the pandemic. That are so many people that need to lose 15 pounds or so. Perhaps we could have some kind of a lose weight, look great, campaign.
I'm working on it, Linda.
Drown-proof. There we go. Okay. Or drown-proof your child, learn to swim. I mean, some kind of to get people to understand that they can come to the community center. I'm not sure if we have computers there. I know we have some, but it would be really nice if we could teach some of our seniors and our children to use a computer. But anyway, I was just trying to think of how we could get people into the community center again, because it's always been so popular. I'd like to also say that the Federal Way Mayor had the best of Federal Way, and I'd like to congratulate Susan Honda, who was chosen best city leader for the 7th year in a row. 7th year in a row.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Well deserved.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Councilmember Kochmar. And I work with a lot of amazing and awesome, talented people, so it's always a shock to win, and you're all the best. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. I finally, Mayor, I want to just end with, I'm not Irish, I'm Polish, but you know, in the 19th century, a lot of the immigrants who came through to immigrate were ended up in New York before they dispersed through the nation. And so the Poles and the Italians and the Irish kind of were at each other, fighting a lot. So if I'm Irish and I wanted to say something to you, I might say Erin go Bragh, which is Ireland until the end of time. Now, if I didn't like you, I'd say, may you be eaten by a cat who will then be eaten by the devil. But since I do like, I thought that was a pretty good one. But since I do like all of you, I'd like to just end with one of my favorite phrases, which I've always liked this for many, many years. So I just would like to repeat it. So thank you. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. The rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. The end.
Very good. And then there's always my favorite, which used to be on the entry of CI Shenanigans as you entered it. May you be in heaven 30 days before the devil knows you're dead. So always a good one. All right. Very good. Thank you very much. So let's see here. We've got Councilmember Kraft.
I'll just keep this brief. I just wanted to also say congratulations to all the winners on the Best of Federal Way. I saw that article and it was great to see all of the really wonderful things that people are doing in our community. And I really like that I've heard a lot more people participate in public comment lately and seen more emails. So just, it's really great to see people get more involved in, you know, local politics. Thank you. Happy St. Patrick's Day tomorrow.
All right. Thank you. All right. Councilmember Tran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make this quick. I just want to, again, thank you, those women who are serving our community. Council President Honda, Council Member Kochmar, Council Member Kraft, Council Member Professor Dawson, and I just want to say that it is my honor to serve alongside with all of you. So thank you for doing that for the community. So with that, I conclude my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Hear, 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 hear. We're in great company. All right, Councilmember Russo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I might be a little long today, maybe taking Councilmember Moore's spot. I'll try to keep this brief, but I have a lot to say. But again, just like my colleague said, Council President Honda, congratulations on that award. It's always well deserved. I do want to also say that it is a honor to work with our women on our city council. Since it's Women's Day in public office, it's Council President Honda, Council Members Kraft, Coach Moore, and Seven Dawson. Thank you very much. You know that I wanted to say I had a couple PSAs, Mayor. So one thing is that you all know I work for the Port of Seattle. The Port of Seattle is opening up a vaccine clinic. So 2% of the work force for the Port of Seattle lives in Federal Way. And so I want everyone to know that they'll be opening tomorrow, matter of fact. They work in conjunction with Department of Health, FEMA's, and Safeway and Albertsons that will be doing this. And so it's open to any of the airport job categories, which includes a lot of folks, customer service, custodial and janitorial, aircraft cabin cleaners, elevator maintenance, a whole host of folks that work at the airport and even at the port and live in Federal Way. So I just want to let you know, give you a heads up for that. I also have been doing vaccines with our neighboring departments, including South King. One thing I want to make sure everyone knows that you find out for women, since it is, again, Women's Month. This is something that said to all the women that come in for vaccines, just for a heads up, that after you get the vaccine, if you're scheduled for a mammogram, you can't get it till after 6 weeks. What it will do is give you a false positive, if you do mammograms. Just want to give you that one, just everyone know that's out there. So then, lastly, I was driving by the other day by the old Metropolitan Market, and lo and behold, there's some folks giving dinners out there, and it turns out to be Winston Bell and his folks from She, Game of Life, and the Cascade Produce, and in conjunction with King County Library System. They're there Monday, Tuesday, and Thursdays from 3 to 4. Go visit them, thank them. That's great to see them doing that in our community, and folks like that, and everyone that does that in the community deserves a well-served hand helping us out these days. So, okay, Mayor, I'm done now. So,
all right,
thank you.
Very good. Good job. Report. Thank you.
Thank you,
Councilmember Sefadawson.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Congratulations, Council President Honda, on your award. And thank you, everyone, for acknowledging women in legislation and honoring us. And I think with that, I will conclude my report. Thank you very much.
Very good. Okay, thank you. All right, Council President Honda.
Thank you. Thank you for your well wishes. I appreciate it, and it's always an honor and a surprise to me to win that award. So thank you very much. On March 21st is World Day for Down Syndrome, and in Federal Way we have a mom named Andrea who has a little girl Ariana, who has Down syndrome, and her mom's work and vision is to educate people about Down syndrome. So we did honor her. I think October is Down syndrome month, and we will be doing that again next October, I imagine. But if you see little Ariana and her mom around town, they're putting I believe it's butterfly signs around town every day, so that if you find one, you can call and or go on Facebook and let them know that you found it and where you found it. I think last year I found one at City Hall. I came to City Hall on a late Friday afternoon to pick something up, and there was one in the planter in front of the front doors, and I was really excited because I always wanted to find one. And so I have it at home in my office, and every child is special, and I really admire Andrea for the work that she's doing in helping others understand what Down syndrome is and what it isn't, and to just recognize that all children are special. On Friday, SCA had a workshop offered by Ann McFarland from the Jurassic Parliament, and it was called "Is Zoom Ruining Your Relationship, or at least your meetings?" It was a really good workshop, and SCA does have that out, the meetings out. So if you're interested, you can ask Jerry Lynn how to watch it. It was about 55 minutes. It was a really good workshop if you're interested in watching, and Ann always does really great workshops. So it's very interesting. She keeps your interest up, and you always learn from her. She's an amazing woman. And Mayor, I was wondering, with students back in school, because I understand we started the little tiny ones today or this week, are the cameras in the school zones operating? And if they are, how are we informing the public to really be careful and watch your speed?
Well, the cameras have been off. They originally we thought they were going to be. They turned on a week earlier, and I saw some chatter on that as well. But once the kids are back, then the cameras go on. Why don't I have? Is it EJ? EJ, are you the person to address the camera issue? They pushed the date of the schools back, I think, 1 week, and that created an issue for the cameras being on prior to the kids getting back, but no one's being ticketed for that. But EJ, you want to talk about that?
Correct. So this is probably a little bit of myself and a little bit of the police chief. So we handle the cameras themselves as far as the times and making sure they're on for all, and it's actually all of the school zones, inclusive of the ones that do not have cameras. We had received dates and times from the school district, and then with everything that happened with the state, it got pushed out a week, but we didn't find out till about 2 days before they pushed it. So we did not have time to reprogram them. So all the school zones actually activated last Monday, but they are all operational. Luckily, we've had a week to check them before the school students showed up. And then I'll actually, if the chief's on the line, I'll actually let him handle the enforcement portion since that falls under him.
Chief?
Yes, Mayor. We won't be issuing any school zone photo enforcement until March 25th. We're continuing to get the word out through our social media. We'll get something to the mayor. We're not issuing even warning tickets, but bottom line is the school zones are activated, but we won't be issuing any tickets until March 25th. So we're still a little ways out.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you. I was wondering, I know that I've seen something that's on Facebook, and I have noticed last week that the cameras or the lights were flashing as I drove through the one by Sahali. So I'm sure we'll all get questions about that. So thank you very much, Chief and EJ, for answering that question. And perhaps we can put it on our Facebook page. I'll talk to Jerry Lynn so that we can get the word out that way too. Thank you. And that concludes it for me. Thank you.
Very good. Well, Council, a great job. I'm proud to be serving with you, and thank you so much. That was a great presentation that we had this evening, honoring the women who are serving and who have served our community. With just a dedication for our community and the organizations that they worked for and in and with, and so thank you very much, and I appreciate their service and honor their service. With that, that concludes our business, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Right.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.